Off the field, the big story, of course, has been that of Lachie Neale.
Yeah, it has, Joey, and the curveball element to the whole story is the story, that being the revelation by Ryan Daniels here in Perth on Channel 7 on Sunday night, putting it out there into the public domain that this was on, that Lachie Neale wanted to, for family reasons, and that needs to be factored in as we discuss this, to head back to where his footy career started for the first 7 years of it, prior to joining the Brisbane Lions. And it caught pretty much every single person at the Brisbane Lions, Joey, off guard. I still, even 3 days later, haven't spoken to anyone who's prepared to admit any form of knowledge in advance. So there's that aspect of it. Neale himself's role in this is intriguing because he's got a management company, but the management on the ground with him in Brisbane wasn't aware of it, or at least that's what he's telling people around him in Brisbane. And obviously other people in his management company have clearly had a form of correspondence with the Dockers. Now, I'll let those parties work out and what they want to say there, but they didn't want that out either. It's not ideal for the Dockers to now be dealing with this publicly prior to it being announced. And clearly Brisbane's been spooked by it. Lachie Neale doesn't want to deal with this publicly. He went to ground deliberately for many hours until the day afterwards, and then eventually met with the club itself. And there's still a bit to play out with it, obviously.
So it's been handled poorly by Lachie Neale, but what is your take on him wanting a request to go home?
Timing, not great. Really poor from him in terms of, letting that, and I guess letting people know that was his intention. People's lives change. His wife's fallen pregnant. She wants to go home to bring up their child. I don't have a problem with that. For me, it was about the timing of it. Straight after you lose a final, not great.
I can't believe the commentary around the reason why. You see Caroline Wilson, Gary Lyon, all genuinely teeing off on him for the reason. So yes, the timing, we all admit the timing's not great and how it's come out. But if you want to go home for family reasons,
for support,
whatever they are in this day and age, and especially with the times that we're going with COVID and things like that, I cannot believe how archaic the views are of some of these people.
Totally. And the fact that Perth has had it, handled it the best, and you can go over there and live a normal life for your baby and family and all that sort of stuff. Why wouldn't you?
And when he came across from Fremantle to Brisbane, it'd be put in his contract that they'd fly family members over at time to time. They'd think about it throughout the season. Hasn't been able to happen for a couple of years now. Heavily pregnant, first child, needing support. It just blows my mind how dumb some people's views are.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been staggered by the lack of compassion and empathy in this situation. I mean, and I get that he's breaking a contract, but when he signed his contract 3 years ago, he did not know we'd be living in a pandemic where essentially his wife's been locked out of going to her own home state to visit her family and friends. Now they're having a family. I would have thought in this day and age of the pandemic that we put people's welfare and all those sorts of things first. And if it's for family reasons and to have your first child around your family and friends when you haven't been able to see them for 2 years, I would have thought we'd be understanding and say, look, unfortunately, it's a big blow to the Brisbane Lions. It's bad timing. They're in the premiership window, but these things happen. Family's more important than football, and we just accept it and do the best we can.
Yeah, I agree, Joey. I suppose, again, just to get everything on the table, he did break a contract to leave the Dockers the first time. So I think that is part of the story here. But I'm with the three of you, that I'm compassionate with why he wants to do it on this occasion. I do, though, feel that there's no ideal world in these scenarios. You know that once you broach that topic with someone, it's going to get out, almost certainly. Now, it got out 24 hours after they'd lost their semi-final out in straight sets. He had an awareness it was going to get out. I mean, he knew that the Dockers were aware of the potential around this situation. I just think what he could have done and what he should have done was, even if it was the week leading into the elimination final, just sit Greg Swan, the Chief Executive Officer, down and say, Swanee, we need a conversation post the series, whenever we bow out of the finals, hopefully a grand final for us. But you need to be aware that my wife and I are now at a stage of our lives, we need to consider something. At least it then gives the club an awareness of it, as opposed to the complete blindsiding that occurred on the Sunday just gone.
Why as an industry do we're really hard on players that break contracts, but not clubs? They break them all the time.
Yeah, they do. I think we are, though, because we can use the Treloar example, and we all went to town on Collingwood and how they treated Treloar. So
he's one example.
Yeah.
He's one example.
Yeah.
I reckon there's plenty of others that clubs say, see you later.